Welcome to Embrace Life with Meghna, Episode 3, a sacred space for warriors living with lupus and chronic illness, and those who walk beside them. I'm Meghna, a lupus thriver, a mother, a speaker, and a firm believer in unshakable hope. Each week, we shine light on the unseen realities of lupus. Today, we go beyond the word fatigue into the raw, unspoken world of symptoms. The pain is actually invisible. The losses we rarely talk about. Because this isn't just about what lupus takes from us. It is actually about what we reclaim. It's our voice, our truth, and our power. Globally, about 5 million people are affected by lupus. And yet, it is the most misunderstood illness. So let's start with the truth, the whole truth. Let's start with the symptoms. All right, let's talk about a kind of tiredness that even by just going to sleep cannot be fixed. This is called fatigue. With lupus, fatigue isn't just a feeling of worn out. It's your whole body that shuts down. And some days, even a simple shower used to wipe me out. There were times that I would actually sit and do nothing, go nowhere, speak to no one, but I would suddenly feel that I'm crashing down. And this is the feeling that 90% of the lupus warriors feel day in, day out. The kind that actually changes how you work, how you parent, or how you even love, how you live. It just changes everything. And here is what I look after I actually experienced it. There were days I couldn't get out of my bed. Not because I didn't want to, but because I just couldn't. I would just stare at the ceiling and literal tears would roll down my cheeks. I used to beg my body to work with me, to cooperate with me. Then there were friends, family who would come and visit and say such a sweet, simple line to me. But you look fine. You can do it. But it was so deep in my bones that I could not even express it in words to them, what I am going through, or what each of us living with lupus or any chronic illness go through when we talk about fatigue. Ever tried opening a bottle and your fingers would be screaming in protest? Or actually woken up and your knees would feel like you've aged 50 years just overnight? Yeah. Up to 95% of lupus warriors experience this joint pain, the morning stiffness, or the swelling. It's not just arthritis. It's actually your immune system, which is completely misfiring over and over again. There was an instance where my child was quite young and he used to play with a lot of toys. I once clearly remember that, I bent down to pick up one of his toys. And you won't believe, I literally felt as if somebody was driving a knife through my knees. I just didn't wince from the pain. I actually winced from the grief of not being able to be the mother I always wanted to be for my child. And that was tougher than just feeling a joint pain or stiffness. Let's talk about the cognitive dysfunction, also known as the lupus form. But let me tell you something. There's nothing soft or nothing gentle about it. It can actually make a person feel broken and blurry from inside, who used to be once very sharp-minded. And 80% of us actually experience this memory loss, the confusion, or just trouble concentrating. There are times I've actually myself, even today, start conversations and forget in between that what I was actually about to convey. I have actually missed appointments and, gotten scolded by my own family for missing those appointments, them thinking that, I don't take ownership or responsibility of going. But it has just been that it has slipped my mind. I have questioned my own intelligence. And you know what? It does break me. This symptom actually isolates you. Not because you don't want to have those conversations. Each conversation actually feels like a puzzle. Puzzle that you feel you will not be able to solve. And trust me, that feeling is not something that you or any of us with lupus like living. Let's talk about a symptom that's not easy to dismiss, not even by the people closest to us. The sudden unexplained fevers. Not your average, I'm coming down with something. The kind of fever I'm talking about is the one that shows up out of nowhere, burns through your body, and leaves you completely wiped off. Somewhere between 36 to 86% of people with lupus actually report these fevers. But here's the hard part. Even the doctors often don't take them seriously. And this is something I have personally dealt with. And sometimes neither do our families. You might hear, it's probably nothing, or just lie down for a while. But inside you, your body is on fire. And no one sees it. I remember the times when I would be sitting with my family, trying to smile through it. Meanwhile, I was burning up from inside, flushed, dizzy, like my skin didn't fit. I would quietly sneak away, check my temperature. And there it was, 101 Fahrenheit. No cold, no virus, just heat and a kind of fatigue that dragged me under. And after that came the crash. A heaviness so deep, it felt like my bones were tired. But try explaining that to someone who's never felt it. You can almost see it in their eyes. That doubt, that confusion. And it actually hurts. Because you want them to be in that belief, to understand that what you are going through. But let me say this clearly. Just because it's invisible doesn't mean it's not real. Just because they don't understand it doesn't mean you have to downplay it. These fevers are not weakness. They are a sign that your body is fighting something so intense, like a massive invisible war. And you are surviving that fire every single day. So if your family doesn't always understand it, that doesn't make you any less. It makes you stronger. Because you keep on going, even when no one sees the battle you are in. And here, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. I see you. I believe you. You are absolutely not alone in this. Let's talk about something that's hard to ignore because it's literally right on your face. Lupus doesn't always stay hidden. Sometimes it announces itself with red patches, liaisons, and flare-ups, completely bold and uninvited. And one of the most common signs, that's so-called, is the butterfly rash. About 2/3 of lupus warriors actually experience this skin symptom. And the butterfly rash, literally spreading across from your cheeks to your nose, is one of the most visible and misunderstood rash. Now, here's one thing. When the first time I remember I got my rash, I had no idea what it meant. I was just thinking that, maybe I'm reacting to probably some product or a medication or even got a sunburn. But it kept on coming back. Fiercer, redder, and even more stubborn each time. It would flare across my cheeks and nose like a mask which I actually didn't choose. And I didn't even actually want it. I remember the first time when it actually flushed on my face. I was playing with my son. And that's it. When I walked into my bedroom, I was super angry to see my face in that shape of that butterfly rash. At first, I actually panicked that what was happening to me. And then I completely avoided the mirror. I just didn't want to see my own face altogether. Because seeing it made me feel the illness was real, unavoidable, and visible. I tried covering it up with layers and layers of makeup, but it always found a way through. And eventually I stopped trying. I gave up. I stopped going out and meeting anybody. I started hiding from others as well as my own self. And you know what? People around me actually gave me very different suggestions from their point of view. They asked me that, if I apply some cream or some, ice, it would help me. But to me, that rash was like my body was branding me, screaming that something was supremely wrong, even when I wanted to keep it private. And that shame that it came with, that is the part nobody talks about. Because when your illness writes itself across your face, you start to lose the part of yourself you once actually recognized. Your sense of beauty, confidence, and control gets shattered. But you know what? Here's what I remembered at that point of time. And I want you to remember too. Lupus might have marked my skin, but it didn't take away my power. That rash does not define me. My spirit does. My resilience does. The way I keep on showing up every single day, that's what tells my story even now. So if you're dealing with this too, if it's the mirror that you are also avoiding the way I did, please know this. You are not alone in this. You are not less than anybody on this earth. You're absolutely 101% worthy. You're beautifully radiant. You're still you. Now let's talk about something that chips away at more than just our appearance. Something that quietly erodes our confidence, our sense of self, our hair loss. Around 45% of lupus warriors actually experience hair loss at some point in their journey. And it sometimes just doesn't come from the disease itself. It can also come from the very medication that is meant to heal us. Steroids like prednisolone, immunosuppressants like methotrexate, or any other medication that is given to us to deal with lupus often is used in these severe cases, can lead to hair loss. These medications can thin the hair, slow the regrowth, or even cause it to fall out in patches or clumps. And while doctors talk about it clinically like it's a minor side effect, what they don't prepare you is the emotional blowout it delivers. I remember when I used to take shower or brush my hair, I felt as if I'm going to go bald. And suddenly, it felt like the brush was pulling my hair apart from me. There were clumps in my sink, strands on my clothes, hair on my pillowcase every single morning. And I wasn't just losing hair. I was losing the sense of control over my body. It's not about vanity. It's not just, oh, no, I don't look pretty today. It's just about that feeling of being exposed, vulnerable, like your illness is stepped into you and you are on that spotlight. That mic is taken away from you. and then to add some salt to your wound. It's just hair. It'll grow back. Maybe it will, or maybe it won't. But in that moment, when you're holding that fistful of hair and standing right in front of the mirror, that's not what you need to hear. That's not what you need. And that's not what anybody actually understands. Space to grieve and the permission to say, this is hard. Nobody tells you that. Hair actually represents the more than just the appearance for us. It's part of how we show up, how we carry ourselves every day, how we feel in our own skin. And when it starts actually falling out, it takes away from our confidence, strand by strand. But here's what I want to say to every woman, or rather even men, listening to it right now. You're not your hair. You're not the medications. You're not the side effects. You're still the person you were and are still going to be. Even when your reflection starts to shift, you are resilient, you're brave, and you're still so deeply beautiful with or without the hair the world told you that defined you. And if today is one of those hard days, I see you. You're not alone in this. Because absolutely, even in this morning, I had a lot of hair on my own pillow. But here I am, standing with hope. Now let's talk about what lupus actually takes into account, where there's no scan or blood test that can measure it. Your mental and emotional well-being. More than 60% of lupus warriors actually experience the hardship of mental health challenges, including anxiety, depression, and panic attacks. But here's what breaks my heart. Less than half of us ever receive proper support or treatment. I know this intimately because I have lived with it. Yeah, that's my truth today. This isn't just about the data to me. It's my story. I myself went through clinical depression. Not a few bad days, not as people said that I'm going through mood swings, but a heavy, isolated fog that clung to my thoughts, my breath, my entire being. There were days I didn't recognize myself. Days I wondered if the girl I used to be was gone for good. Hardest part was, it wasn't the pain. It was a feeling that no one truly saw it. Especially the people I thought would, the ones closest to me. You expect your loved ones, maybe your parents or your partner or your spouse, etc., to get it. To notice when your smiles feels forced, when your energy is fake, when your silence is loud. But the stark reality, sometimes they don't. Not because they don't love you, but because they are not living in your body. They're not carrying the fear that you carry every single day. They don't know what it feels like to be chronically tired and emotionally hollow. And still trying to keep it together for everyone else. And that realization, trust me, I know it hurts. You start thinking, why don't they see I'm not okay? And then the guilt really follows. Because you know they care, but they just can't understand what they have never experienced. I've been there, waiting for someone to notice, hoping for some sort of comfort I couldn't explain. Crushed by the silence of people who loved me, but didn't know how to love me through this. But here's what I've learned, and maybe it'll help you too. It's not their fault. It's not yours either. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do is to let go of that expectation that others will ever or always get you, and start giving yourself the understanding you've been waiting for, and be willing to speak even if your voice is shaky like mine is right now, even if you cry halfway through. Because when I finally opened up, I honestly did it without sugarcoating. Something shifted in me. Some people stepped up, others did. But I stopped pretending. And that was the beginning of my freedom. If you're in this place right now, wondering if you're being too emotional or too sensitive or being too much, let me tell you something I wish I would have heard earlier. You're not too much. You're not carrying too much. And you deserve support. Mental health is not a luxury. It's not optional. It's survival. It's a strength. It's part of the healing. So please ask for help. Say what you need. And don't wait for someone to read your mind. You deserve care. Not just for your body, but for your heart. You're not alone in this. You're not broken. And there is life after this fog. I'm still trying to find mine, and I really wish so you will. Zoom out for a moment, because while lupus is deeply personal, sometimes we don't realize that the thing that we carry in our body, in our heart, or in our day-to-day struggle is actually a global crisis. Lupus affects about 5 million people worldwide. It hits women of color the hardest. Almost 2 out of 3 Asian women actually are diagnosed with lupus quite often. In some countries, it's one of the top causes of death in women aged 15 to 44. And here's the one thing that absolutely stunned me. On an average, it takes 6 years to be properly diagnosed. Yes, 6 years. 6 years of unexplained pain. 6 years of bouncing from doctor to doctor. 6 years of hearing it's just stress, or maybe it's in your head. 6 years of feeling like you're losing your mind when all along your body was screaming for help. And these aren't just numbers. They are us. They are our sisters, our daughters, our mothers, and our friends, our warriors who are misdiagnosed, dismissed, or forgotten. And I know what it's like to be one of those stories, to feel invisible in the system, to walk into appointments and be told your labs look normal while your body is falling apart from inside. I also know what it's like to be surrounded by people who don't understand what the diagnosis really means, who think lupus is just fatigue or a rash here and there. But you and I know better. We know it's a full body battle, a lifelong reckoning. It's a grief and a survival, hope and frustration, all tangled together. It's learning to live inside a body that often feels unfamiliar territory. And that is why awareness actually matters. This is why we speak up. I speak up, even when my voice is shaky. Because we are not just telling our stories for sympathy. We are doing it for change, for faster diagnosis, for better care, for research, funding, and representation. And for the millions of women, especially women of color, who've been gaslit, misheard, and sidelined. We are here to say no more. Because our pain is real. Our lives matter. We are done being silent. If you've ever felt like just another number on a chart, and if you've ever wondered whether anyone's fighting for people like us, let this moment remind you, we are the movement. We are the voice. And together, we are just rising. You've been listening today and thinking, this is me. If your heart has been quietly whispering, she's telling my story, I want you to know that's not just an accident. You're not imagining it. And you're definitely not weak. You are absolutely, without any doubt, not alone. I know what it's like to carry an illness that no one else can see, to smile through the pain, to doubt your worth because your body isn't keeping up with your spirit, to wait for people, even the ones who you love, for them to understand what you are feeling and still feel like no one really does. I've been there. And that's why I created this space. Because you deserve a place where you're not just heard, you're understood. Where your struggle isn't dismissed and your strength isn't ignored. So here's what I want to leave you with. You're more than your symptoms. Yes, you got it. You're more than your symptoms. More than those labs, those flare-ups, those scars. You are a soul fighting an invisible war and showing up anyway. And that, trust me, that's not weakness. That's warrior energy. You may not wear armor, but you carry the courage in your bones. And in this space, you don't have to explain that. You get to be you, freely, fiercely. Together, we rise and we speak the truth. Together, we turn this pain into power, limitlessly. In the end, I just want to thank each one of you and say that you don't have to walk this journey alone. Not anymore. Whether you're newly diagnosed or deep in your fight or supporting someone you love, there's a space for you right here. A space where you are seen, heard, and held. Let's keep walking this path side by side, heart to heart. Join my conversations and share your stories, or just listen in at your own pace every Friday at 12 o'clock. Because you matter. Your story matters. Follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Meghna.Nanda, or connect me through Instagram, YouTube, or WhatsApp. DM me to join this lovely community where understanding leads to empowerment and empowerment leads to healing. We rise together. Thank you.